What is up, my friends? How are we? You are very welcome along to tonight's late night agenda. It is a pleasure to be here with you. Missed you all, of course, while I was away, and thank you to Connor for the great job that he did filling in while I was away. It really is much appreciated. So, ladies and gents, I think it's fair to say we've a lot to talk about. Massive game coming up at the weekend. Plenty of transfer links to discuss as well. The Manchester City Chargers, well, we could finally know what's happening with them by the November international break, according to some of the news today. And, of course, anything else that you would like to discuss, the floor is yours. You know what to do. Right, let's get cracking. Haley, how are we? Said, good evening, missed the lives. Connor did a great job. Well, thank you for the kind words for Connor, Haley. He did. He was, he was getting into his groove. He was feeling a lot more comfortable doing them than he was originally. And, he did a great job, and I'm very grateful to him for covering. Joseph Reinhardt, how are we, bro? Said, welcome back. Welcome back. I've missed these shows. I've missed doing them, to be honest with you, but it hasn't been an incident-free couple of weeks for me. It's or a week, I should say, for me. It's I wasn't meant to go on that holiday. Let's just put it that way. Somebody was saying to me, Craig, don't go away because, well, it ended up with me in pain for the entire week, but that's another day's story. Right, ladies and gents, let's get cracking with, well, there's a lot I want to talk about tonight, actually, because there's been a lot more links to Semenyo since I've been away, so I thought we could have a conversation around those. Nico Schlottbeck, a couple of games that have been moved. Trent could be available to play against us in the Madrid game. We'll talk a little bit about a release of a Liverpool shirt, a favourite of mine from the past. And, of course, anything else you'd like to go through. Alex said, evening, Craig and gang, can't wait for Sunday. Yep, it should be great. It should be great. Hopefully we can get back to winning ways because we need to, let's be honest. We can't go and have another set of drop points. So fingers crossed we can get back and get to winning ways. Look, two ways to look at this, isn't it? You can either think of it as Manchester United, the perfect team to come back and play against to get that victory and maybe get morale boosted up a little bit. Or if, it doesn't go our way, it makes it even more difficult, a little period that slots in at the minute. So a win is needed. Let's be honest about that. We can't be losing 4 on the bounce. 3 is too many, in my opinion. Frank, how are we, dude? Said, just wanted to say thank you. Don't want to say I like you better, Connor. There you go. Oh crap, Craig's back. Autocorrect. I should have said I like Craig better. That's all right. You sent the money, mate. You can say what you want as long as you sent the money. No, jokes aside, Fritz, always appreciate your support, my friend. And any support Connor gets as well, greatly appreciated because, I remember a time where he didn't want to be in front of camera whatsoever, and I think he took to it like a duck to water. So fair play to him. I really appreciate him stepping in. So it was a bit of a mad one for me, right? We went over to Lanzarote for a week. And I didn't even leave the airport before I was injured. Do you believe that? That's just my luck. So we're in Lanzarote Airport. I decided I need to go into the loo before we picked up the hire car. So I ran into the bathroom to go to the loo. And I was leaving, and I was just about to walk out the door, and I slipped. And as I slipped, I put my hand out in front of me because I was heading towards the door. And my knuckles caught the door frame and hurt my hand. And I thought, oh, bit of a bruise on my hand there. So anyway, long story short, we get to the house, get to sleep, wake up the next day, and I can't move. I'm in absolute agony, but not with my hand, in my shoulder. So spent the next day or two trying to just tough it out as you do, thinking it'll die down, it'll go away. It didn't. Then ended up going to a clinic in Lanzarote, getting a couple of injections. That didn't do it. Then I went to a hospital in Lanzarote. They gave me similar medication and a couple of other bits and pieces. But we ended up having to come home early. So we flew in yesterday so I could get some physiotherapy so I could make sure that I could be in Liverpool for the show on Sunday. So I was from a week of pain to physiotherapy for more pain. So the last week, even today as I sit here right now, the nerve on the back of my neck is really sore. So I'm going to try, go as long as I can tonight. But if you see me wincing at any point, that's why. I still have a bit of a trapped nerve in the back of the old neck and shoulders. So yeah, as I said at the start of the stream, somebody didn't want me going away on this holiday, and maybe I should take that as a bit of a lesson. Well done, Connor, and nice to see you back, Craig. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate you, mate. Connor did a great job, as you've all said, and I do appreciate your support. Right, let's get stuck into some news here, because there is plenty to go through. So let's start with a bit of a story that I quite frankly just don't believe. TBR Football have said that Juventus have rebuffed multiple inquiries for Kefren Thuram, who of course Liverpool were linked to before we went out and signed Ryan Gravenberch and redid our whole midfield. They say that in the past 6 months, inquiries have come in from Premier League clubs, including Arsenal, Chelsea, and Liverpool for Kefren Thuram. So this is why I'm a little bit unsure, right? If we wanted Kefren Thuram, well, we could have got him. because he was available before he moved to Juventus, and we chose not to. So I don't really see why we would all of a sudden change our minds and go back in. But we do need somebody in that position. I think most of us would agree. We could certainly do with an understudy for Ryan Gravenberch, or maybe somebody who plays the position a little bit different, a little bit more of an enforcer. But I just don't think that play would be Kefren Thuram personally. But of course, love to know what you guys think. Another story that's developed while I was away, which I didn't really keep too much up on, to be honest. I was trying to keep my Liverpool information to a minimum while I was away. But the stuff around Nico Schlottbeck is certainly very interesting because, much like Florian Wirtz, perhaps, a lot of talk that he was going to end up at Bayern Munich. And look, he still could end up at Bayern Munich. But a report today from Christian Falk and a few others that Liverpool are at least having a look at him as a potential long-term Virgil van Dijk successor. But look, whatever happens here, I'd say we need a centre-back as quickly as possible. We still don't know what's going on with Ibu. We don't know if he's going to be fit and available for the weekend. And even if he was, should he be playing, or is it time to maybe give him a little spell on the bench and give Joe Gomez a run out? I think probably worth giving Joe a run out. But even that comes with its own risks, right? Because Joe was, shall we say, not his best when he played this season. But it was only one game, and he hasn't had a rhythm, and he hasn't had much time. Over his course of his time at Liverpool, Joe Gomez has been a very good defender. So I don't want to give away my preview, which is coming out later on tonight for the United game. But that's something that I'd be thinking about at the weekend. And of course, then we need to know what's going on with Ibu, because we still don't know. So yeah, there's that as well. But on the situation with Schlottbeck, there seems to be a kind of hit and miss with this one. Some people think Liverpool are interested, and then others are saying no, not really one that Liverpool are going to run the rule over. So look, it's a name that's been around and linked to us for a while, and I think many of us would be more than happy with Schlottbeck. I know Dortmund are trying to tie him down to a new deal, and as I mentioned as well previously, Bayern Munich have an interest in him as well. So let us know your thoughts on that one. Speedy recovery. Thank you, Christina. I couldn't believe my luck. Honestly, mate, I could not believe my luck. Yeah, it's been tough. I haven't really slept for the last week because, when you're sore in your back and neck, you can't get comfortable. So you're sleeping for a few minutes, waking up. But look, I digress. It's hopefully behind me and we can move on. But yeah, it was it was just about my luck for that week. How are we? Good to see you back, said Harry. I'm good, my man. Good. Yeah, delighted to be back. As always, missed you guys while I was away. You always get a little bit nervous as well for the first stream back. I don't know why. I've been doing this, 8 years nearly now, but I always get nervous when I have a little bit of a prolonged break and then come back in. Even sitting down to make the video earlier on, you're kind of just getting used to your surroundings again. Joe has just come back from a long-term recovery, so it's expected to be rusty. Yeah, that's more than fair, THURAM Jim. And look, I'm a Joe Gomez fan. I think Joe Gomez is a very good defender and has been for his time at Liverpool. There's been some times that I think he can be ball-watching a little bit, but I guess the question is, do you go with Joe, who, as you've said, has had a time out and is working his way back? So at least you've got an understanding of maybe why he's not at his best. Or do you stick with Ibu, who has probably been 50-50 this season? Some of the games, looks like the old Ibrahim Konate. Other games, looks all over the place. And you add into that then, of course, the uncertainty around what's going on with his, I think, was it a hamstring? No, I don't think it was a hamstring, actually. It was one of his leg muscles. We don't know really what's going on with that, if he's even going to be fully available for the game. So lots to take in. But ultimately, delighted that we're back. And the international breaks are, we've one more month to get through. And then, fingers crossed, there's no fingers crossed. It's a fact. We'll have no more till March. How fit is Isak now? Well, he played, I don't know about the first game for Sweden. I know he played the 90 in the second game. I can't remember if he played the full 90 in the first game. And of course, since then, Jon Dahl Tomasson, the Swedish national team coach, has been fired because, Sweden have been poor. They're bottom of their group. And it doesn't look like they can buy themselves a win at the minute. So I think the 90 minutes will certainly stand Isak in good stead. We'd had some more good training as well there with the Swedish national team, and now all we need is to add in a bit of confidence, I guess, to the fitness, and we should be good to go. And no better team to come out and play against than Manchester United. If he can score a goal of the game at the weekend, I think he'll very quickly be established as a firm favourite. Quad muscle, thank you, Paul. Quad muscle. So as I said, we don't know really what's going on there. But what would you guys do? Let's put it to a vote. I love an old poll, as you know. So let's get the first poll of the night up. Let's get cracking with this one. So who should start beside VVD. Right, so we're going to go for Gomez. And by the way, I know that there's a world that we could have a conversation around Ryan Gravenberch playing at centre-back, but I really don't want it to happen because I think we lose something in midfield if he does. And I don't think Alexis McAllister is going to be 100% ready either because he played a pointless full 90 minutes against Puerto Rico. Scored a couple of goals, so well done for that. But would have liked to have seen Scaloni take him off and give him a bit of a breather. So he would have been one of the later ones back, I think, as well. So if you did move Gravenberch into centre-back, then you kind of sacrifice his presence in the middle of the park with a McAllister who, look, nobody's questioning Alexis McAllister's talent. He's brilliant. But again, another player that we haven't really seen the best of so far this season. So I'm going to go with somebody else, give another option in there. Right, so we can go with Gomez, Canade, or somebody else. Who that somebody else is, I don't know. Because I think Endo's injured as well, right? I seen a picture of him and Alisson having a little look at the friendly between Brazil and Japan. Endo. Oh, I don't know about Endo. Honestly, I don't want Endo playing centre-back. I just feel we'd lose a lot with him in that position compared to, you know, his contemporaries, who's there with him, you know, Gomez, Van Dijk, Canade, very, very different profile of player, defender to Endo. So I would say no to Endo at centre-back. I just don't think it'll end well for us. Craig, have I got a Green Bay Packers mini helmet? I haven't got anything Green Bay Packers, to be honest with you. I was going to order a couple of hoodies a while ago, but never got around to it. So no, I definitely don't have a mini helmet, but certainly been impressed with Jordan Love so far this season. Wayne said, Nico Schlottbeck come to Liverpool by January for increasingly busy fixture list. 11-1, built on increasingly deep squads, allow clubs and players to handle increasingly busy fixture lists. There's no denying, mate, the fixture lists are piling up, and, you know, it's not just for English clubs, right across world football. The players don't seem to be getting a break in the fixture congestion. So, yeah, let's have a look at how we can ease that burden on the players. I guess some less of these stupid international tournaments would, or not tournaments, but games would probably be a start. And I'm glad to hear as well that there's no chance the Premier League are going to be taking games out of England and playing them abroad. Or finally, common sense on that one. I think Gomez, only because of the minor knock Canade got to Lewis Edgerly. Well, for me, even if he was fully fit, Lewis, if Canade was fully fit, I'd still have doubts on whether he should start this game or not. Because, like, we are coming off the back of 3 losses, and we can't really afford to lose this one for various reasons. One, it's then a proper crisis, right? So you've got the international break to kind of reset yourself. You've got a perfect game to come back against the Manchester United. And if we don't win this game, I think the noise is going to increase around the squad, around the club. And, you know, the knives will be out for us. Because you've already seen, I've been watching some of the commentary around Sweden, right? So I've seen some comments from Alan Shearer about Sweden and about Isak and about Sweden not scoring. I don't remember seeing much about Gyökeres not scoring. I don't remember hearing too much about the pundits about Gyökeres not scoring an 8 or something like that. But Isak, again, is under the microscope, and everything that he does, they just love to take cheap shots at him. So love to see him come in and shut a few people up this weekend. Harry, how are you, dude? Said, hey Craig, you good? Hope we get 2 centre-backs. Can't see it. Mate, at this rate, I'd take 1, Harry. And am I good? Apart from the neck injury, I'm good, bro. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for asking. But yeah, we need 1 minimum in January. And I'm starting to get a bit nervous as well about the situation with Mark Gay, because, of course, we don't know what Mark Gay's situation is, other than every time I pick up my tablet or I pick up my phone to have a look at the news, there's another club linked with them. So you've got Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Liverpool, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Manchester City and a couple of others. So now I'm starting to get a bit nervous that something that I probably thought at the end of the summer window was a guarantee for a future signing. Now I'm starting to get a bit nervous, wondering, are we actually going to get Mark Gay? Kelvin Pell said, Canade isn't good enough for Shrewsbury, never mind Madrid. Look, he hasn't been. Now, isn't, I don't think is fair. Hasn't been, I think, is a very fair conversation. Look, Canade's proven himself over his time at Liverpool to be a pretty good defender, right? But this season, he's been shaky. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's a form thing. I don't know if it's a change of players around him thing. I don't know if it's, his contract situation or the rumours and linked to move to Madrid. But for whatever reason, we aren't seeing the Ibrahim Konate that we know he's capable of. Well, at least not consistently, because he has had some good performances amongst a few horror shows as well. Inter Milan also want Gay. Yeah, look, he's going to be a hot property, right? Free transfer. So I'd imagine there will be a lot of clubs. And I guess the disadvantage that clubs like Liverpool or Premier League clubs would have there is we can't do that whole mechanism of getting them to sign a pre-contract in January like any club outside of England can. So if you're a Barcelona, a Madrid, an Inter Milan, a Bayern Munich, you can get that pre-contract agreement in January. So kind of puts them in an advantage over other clubs in England. So yeah, I'm nervous. I'm kind of clinging on to James Pearce's words that he believes and this was going back to the summer now. I'm not saying James said this frequently or recently. He said it's just a matter of, I think it'll be just a matter of when and not if Mark Gay signs for Liverpool. So I'm hoping that's still the case. Newcastle taking cheap shots at Isak, especially our friend Luke Edwards. I'm glad you brought that up because I did notice this, right? I popped in and out of the Discord group while I was away a little bit, Alex. And I don't know who posted it in the Discord, but somebody did post in, I think it was a tweet from Luke Edwards. And my God, the man is, I'm going to choose my words carefully because I don't know him on a personal level, but bitter. He sounds like he got dumped by a bird. That's what this sounds like. Like his partner dumped him and he's just bitter over it because he can't let it go. He's almost like saying that it's karma to a degree for him that this is happening. And again, another one that seems quite happy to just ignore the fact that Sweden have been struggling full stop with Gyökeres, with Isak, with the whole team. But yes, Luke Edwards, the man who couldn't have been more wrong. And hi, Luke. Did I mention that you were wrong, Luke? Because you were very fucking wrong. You know the way you were an arrogant prick all the way through the window telling us that you're going to be right at the end of it and that you have it on good authority from the owners of Newcastle that he ain't going anywhere. Well, dickhead, how's that looking for you right now? Because he's a Liverpool player. But we all knew it was going to happen, Lukey boy, didn't we? We all knew. But I still remember, Luke. I remember the very special set of skills that you have. I remember you were promising us, you were telling us that you were looking forward to it. Where are those skills now, Luke? They're in the bin, mate, with your reputation. That's where, because you are just looking like a clown. I don't know him personally, but he looks like an absolute clown. Still going on about Isak. Never mind the fact that the new guy they brought in is doing quite well. Scored his first goal for Germany, although a bit of a dubious one off his shoulder. Done decent for Newcastle. So rather than focus on that, our Lukey boy just, still wants to be obsessed with Isak. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he wants a pair of Isak signed boxer shorts or something, I don't know. But either way, he's coming across very, very bitter, isn't he? For a man that, I don't know, a man that probably gave him more attention in the summer when all is writing about him than any other player probably in his time writing about Newcastle. But yeah, look, if I was him, I'd be hiding, in all honesty. I wouldn't be showing my face in public. I wouldn't be able to, after acting like such a dick all summer and being so wrong. I wouldn't be able to be showing my face in public, but hey, that's just me. What else we got? Mammerdash Philly, hope he can use spaghetti legs from Bruce Grobbler. Look, I'm intrigued to see how Georgie gets on. One of the things that we spoke about when we were talking about Alisson and his future, and we were looking at the situation with Queeveen, and we were looking at Georgie, we always knew that there was a possibility that injuries may come this season for Alisson, because over the past couple of years, his level hasn't dropped off. He's still one of, if not the best goalkeeper in the world, but the injuries have started to become a little bit more frequent, at least to my recollection. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it certainly feels like Alisson's starting to pick up a few more knocks. So it is going to be important that Georgie can step in, because what we knew of Queeveen was that he was able to step in and he was able to be a very good number two. You might say one of the best number twos in world football, and performed at a consistent level. So here's hoping that Georgie takes his opportunity now, steps up and, maybe gives the manager something to think about in the longer term. So fingers crossed for him. I think he's a very good goalkeeper. So yeah, wishing him nothing but the best when he steps in. Paul White, how are you? Said, good to see you back, Craig. Been waiting for your return. Hope you had a good holiday and you're fully recharged. I couldn't be any less recharged, in all honesty, mate, because I was explaining at the start of the stream, I had a bit of an accident and messed up my neck and shoulder. But yeah, that aside, dude, it was good to get the mental break anyway, and I appreciate you asking. Lee said, Craig, we batter United, let's go. Well, we should do. We're good enough to. They're not a particularly good team, United, but I don't know, it's hard to... I feel it would just be arrogant of me to sit here and talk about us going to batter them, because we're coming off 3 losses on the bounce. We've got to be honest about this as well. So this is time for us to show a response. This is time for the players to step up, stand up, and show that, yeah, they're ready. And look, there is going to be a bedding in period, a teething period with new players coming in. I think we all expected that to some degree. But, when you look at it from a perfect start, and there was one thing I read, actually, earlier on today, that I'm not going to say it worried me, but it certainly put it into perspective. We took up until, where was it? 1 second. Is it this one? There was a number I wanted to run through that I'd seen in one of the... Where is it? Sorry, I've lost my notes on it. Yeah, so basically we didn't lose our second league game until, I don't know, very late into the season or quite far into the season. Now we've already lost 3 games in a row, 2 of them in the league, of course, 1 in the Champions League. So we got to come back and win. Normally you would say a game against United, a draw, would you take it? No, but you wouldn't be too bad. I'm going to be honest about it and say I'll be pissed off if we don't beat United this weekend, because I want a response from these players. Arsenal, we've turned a 5-point deficit, or Arsenal turned a 5-point deficit on us into a 1-point advantage, and we got to get back to winning. It's as simple as that. Kelleher made a brilliant penalty save against Ronaldo the other night. Did you see it? Penalties are a speciality. I did, Christina, and I love the image. There's a beautiful photo of him kind of leapt up into the air, Ronaldo head in hands. I'm sure it's one that Queeveen will want framed and put up. It's unfortunately for us, it didn't really work out as an Irishman. We still managed to find a way to lose that game. But yeah, great moment for Queeveen. He saved one from Mbappe as well in the last year. So fair to say, he's not daunted when he steps up to face one of the big guys in world football. A win a month is nasty, believe us, Craig. You can say that. Just batter us, don't win situation. We've got to win. We have to win. Simple as that for me. Because it is a crisis then if we don't. You can look at it a few ways. You can say we lost 3 games in a row, or you can say we lost 2 games in the league and 1 in the Champions League. But either way, they were difficult away games that we lost. Maybe not Galatasaray. I feel like we should have been good enough to beat them, but we weren't. And we lost 2 late games as well. But to be fair, we've also won some late games. So for me, I'm okay. I'm still a little bit edgy. But this game has to be a win. It has to be. Because, as I said, the noise is just going to increase around Liverpool if we don't beat United at the weekend. Because they've been, well, cannon fodder for a long time. So we really need to go out there and put in a good... Well, actually... The result is more important than the performance this weekend. You'd like the performance, but it's all about the 3 points. Ian said, I know Canada has been poor, but we still need his heading prowess against United. Well, that's provided he can remember what direction to head the ball in, dude. We've had a couple of defensive issues. I think one from Gravenberch, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember the other one. Where we were heading the ball back in the wrong direction at one point. With Canada, look, it would be unfair of me to say why his performances have been up and down this season. I don't know the man. But as a fan, all I can say to you is we're not seeing the same guy that we know can do it week in and week out alongside Virgil. And it would be naive of us not to think that the contract situation at least plays into it in some way. Same way we spoke about it last season with Virgil, with Trent and with Mohamed. So let's wait and see. Right, who's a fan of retro shirts? Because Footy Headlines gave us all a little bit of good news. Adidas are set to release a remake of the iconic green and white, what I call the chessboard shirt, or the Robbie Fowler bleach blonde hair shirt, the 1995-96 away shirt later this season. Just take my money. Take my money. This is a shirt that I loved growing up. Probably one of my top 3 Liverpool shirts of all time. And to hear that Adidas are going to re-release it, take my money. Just take my money. It's gonna be glorious. I can't wait. Bobby Clark, a little bit on him. So he's going to be going to Celtic, according to the Times Sport, for £6 million in January. I didn't even realise Bobby Clark was on loan at Derby County until a couple of people were kind enough to point it out to me in the comments of the video I made earlier on today. I think Celtic would be a good move for him. I can see him establish himself up there and kind of getting back to where he wants to be, because I always thought there was a good footballer in Bobby Clark, and can understand he wanted to move away. Didn't really work out at Salzburg for various reasons, but if he can get that move to Celtic, I think that could be a good move for him. Who's the ref for the United game? Oh, Nasir, buddy. Unfortunately, it's Oliver. And usually, 2 years ago, I'd have said to you, Nasir, it's Michael Oliver, England's best referee. But now, dude, you know, Michael Oliver, he's had a bit of a mare for me as well in recent years. So, yeah, it's Michael Oliver. I think, don't quote me on this, I think Darren England is the VAR, but I might be wrong on that one. But, yeah, it's Michael Oliver for the game. Is it true we're looking at bringing back Carlsberg as the front of shirt sponsor? I've heard it, but the rules around advertising unhealthy stuff would stop that. Thoughts? So, I don't know who exactly it is, if they're going to roll over with Standard Chartered, but I did see something during the week, Ollie, that said Liverpool are expecting to bag a deal of about £70 million a year for their front of shirt sponsorship. Now, you know, you would imagine Standard Chartered would get first dibs, them being the current shirt sponsors. But yeah, let's wait and see. I'd be a liar, mate, if I said to you I know the rules or the laws in and out of who can and can't advertise on football shirts going forward in the UK. But, you know, the romantic in me would love to see somebody like Carlsberg return, you know, one of the older sponsors. But look, if the club can get a good deal and it helps us moving forward, then, you know, happy days. But on that, here's something I never thought I'd be saying. I guess it's time to congratulate FSG on 15 years ownership of Liverpool. They penned an open letter, which I'm sure you've seen this week. I thought it was a very good letter. I've had my ups and downs with FSG, probably more downs than ups, if I'm being honest with you. But over the last few years, and particularly in this transfer window, they really stepped up. And 15 years ownership, they have delivered what for me was the holy grail. I wondered growing up how long I was going to have to wait to see Liverpool win a league title again. And that was delivered, and twice. So, yeah, congratulations. A lovely post as well from Linda about, you know, her time and her interaction with Liverpool fans. I thought that hit the mark as well. I thought it was a lovely post. So, yeah, thoughts. 15 years ownership of FSG, folks. What are we thinking? You know my history with them. I was really unhappy with the lack of real backing of the managers in the market. But I said this summer, if they spend, I'll shut up. And I think I've been a man of my word on that one. And you have to say, 2 league titles, Champions League, Club World Cup, I think a couple of League Cups, FA Cup. You know, we've certainly won stuff. Have they made mistakes? Yeah, but everyone's going to make mistakes. So, yeah, I have a weird relationship with my time with FSG, but ultimately, overall, they have delivered. You know, they've delivered stadium infrastructure. They've delivered new training ground. They've brought the women's team back to Melwood to train. And they've redone in and around Anfield. Obviously, the AXA that we just spoke about. You know, they brought us Jurgen Klopp. They delivered a league title. That's got to get a pat on the back, no matter where we are with it. You're certainly worse owners in world football. And right now, with the direction that we're going and the investment that they've put in, it would be unfair of me to sit here and say anything other than they stepped up this summer. And they really did step up. Now, hopefully this is a continuation, but it does look like the plan was, you know, build up the financial side of the club, get us regularly in the Champions League, get that television revenue up, bring in new corporate deals and sponsorships. And you always just wonder then, right, when will this transfer onto the pitch? When will we see all this increased money and revenue into players? And this summer it did. So, you know, I'm delighted with the transfer spend this summer. Absolutely delighted with the players we brought in. We'll all have our own take on whether there's one or two more we could have gotten, but look, it wasn't for a lack of money being available. So yeah, 15 years in, feel free to let me know your thoughts. Craig, is that hoodie released on the Liverpool store? It is. A shout out, by the way. Chad, if you're watching, Chad put me onto it. He was keeping an eye on the app and he said, oh, Craig, because he knows I love a hoodie. Did you see the new hoodie that came out? So I'd ordered it just before I went away on holidays and it was here waiting for me when I came home. And I've got to say, I've bought quite a bit of Liverpool stuff this summer since Adidas have been back. And this is probably the most high quality item of everything I've bought. It really feels premium. The cuffs, the collar, it feels really well made. I can't remember the price of it off the top of my head. I want to say it was about €55, something like that. But definitely recommend it. If you like the look of it, you won't be disappointed with the quality of it. It's a really good top. Craig, would you start Wirtz against United, said Nasir? I think I would, mate. And I was thinking about this when I was doing out my preview earlier on. The reason I'm going to say I would is because it comes down to between him and McAllister for me. And the deciding factor was the lateness at which Alexis comes back, because Argentina were probably, I think, the last international team from our players to play. So you had him coming back late, had a full 90. His form and his fitness have been a bit patchy this season. So taking all those things into account, I would. I'd probably go with a midfield of Gravenberch, Szoboszlai and Wirtz for the Manchester United game. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, if you can perform in this game as a Liverpool player, whether it be Isak, whether it be Ekitike, whether it be Frimpong, Kirkes, any of the new boys, if you can come in and make a mark in this game, United, I think that will get the confidence going. So I'm hoping, I think you do play him. But also, you spend a lot of money on him. So the case is, do you play him or take him out of the firing line for a while and give him a rest? I think with circumstances as they are, I'd play him. Dave said, 2 last kick winners against us plus a nonsense penalty gifted to Galatasaray. Performance standard is a worry though. But on the other side of that, Dave, and you're not wrong, the other side of that, we had a couple of late winners as well. So kind of, swings and roundabouts with that. But the performances, mate, as you pointed out, the performances is the real concern for me. Bar maybe a 30-minute spell, I think is probably our longest that I've been happy with our performance against Atletico Madrid. We haven't really been able to put together a fluid performance yet. And another question I guess I would have, and I don't think I'm alone in this, is what's our best fullback pairing now at this moment in time? And I was thinking about that earlier on. I actually have some numbers on that I'll run through actually right now. And say actually again, Craig, because you haven't said actually enough. So I was looking at some of the numbers and comparing Robbo and Milos Kerkez 90 minutes last season and this season. So Andy Robertson has played 6.1 passes into the box last season when playing for Liverpool. Again, so far Milos Kerkez, now a smaller sample size of course, has 4.4 passes played into the box. Open play crosses, Robbo's putting in 3.1 per game versus 2.8 for Milos Kerkez. Chances created is probably one of the bigger gaps here. Robbo's creating 1.4 chances per 90 minutes, where Milos Kerkez so far, and again, small sample size, is only creating 0.5, so half a chance per game. If you look at how spoiled we've been with our fullbacks in the last 6, 7, 8 years, with Trent and Robbo, whatever we think about Trent defensively or anything else, just look at the sheer numbers that those two men put up with assists and goals, particularly assists. It was crazy. So to try and replicate that was always going to be difficult. And one thing, though, that really does stand out with Milos Kerkez over Andy Robertson is his duels won. Per game, Andy Robertson won 2.2 duels, whereas Milos Kerkez 5.1. So certainly a far more combative defender who's winning his battles more than Robbo. John from near Liverpool, New York, how are we, buddy? Said, hey Craig, glad you're back. Connor was a great backup. No other shirt. I've spent ungodly money already on Liverpool Adidas stuff. Enjoy the United game. Thank you. I'm probably the same, mate, with regards to spending the money on the stuff, but it's Adidas, and you know me and Adidas, John. I was very happy when Liverpool went back to the 3 stripes, but I always felt for you guys in the States with those import taxes that you were having to pay if you ordered direct from the club. So, yeah, I get it, but I have to get that 95, 96 shirt, mate. It's an iconic shirt for me. It's one of my all-time favourites, so I will be coughing up my money to get that one. Blizzard, how are we, my friend? Said, nice to see you, Craig. How you doing? I'm really sore, but good. Had physio today. As I said, I flew back a day early because I wanted to get physio to make sure I could go over to the game and do the show on Sunday. So I went physio today, and my God, she put me through the ringer. That's my first real back and shoulder physio ever. And maybe I'm a little bitch. It probably is that I'm a little bitch. But oh God, that hurt. That hurts. I'm hoping when I wake up tomorrow I'm feeling a little bit better than I do right now. VI Joker said, like that top, how's it going? Not too bad, dude. Not too bad. Looking forward to getting over for a game on Sunday. Brian and his brother and his brother's missus are already in Ireland, so looking forward to meeting them in Dublin Airport and flying over on Saturday morning. Excited and nervous. I'm a little bit nervous because this is the first time I've gone to a game really since our channel has established itself. You know, I think it's been about 3 years now since I've been over to a game. So, you know, I'd be a liar if I said I'm not a bit nervous, you know, with the type of interactions I may or may not get. But look, to be honest, I would have been like that anyway. I'm a nervous enough person, so hopefully it all goes well. But I'm definitely looking forward to the game. It's a bucket list game for me, and to be able to go over to see Liverpool Man United is something I hope to remember for the rest of my life. Certainly looking forward to it. AJ said, Craig, would you take a draw if we perform very well? No. Again, go back to the start of what I said earlier on, AJ. Normally, dude, performance would be really important to me, and it is. But we've got to get a win here. We cannot allow Arsenal to pick up any more momentum on us. So we got to get the win. And look, you can look at it, and as was pointed out by Dave earlier on, you're talking about, you know, a difficult game at Chelsea away where we conceded a late winner. We've been on the other end of that as well, so fair enough. And Chelsea probably deserved to win that game. Galatasaray away, that was, in my opinion, a nonsense penalty and an even more nonsense performance by us. I thought it was terrible. And then the Crystal Palace one, look, they were a good side. And they were on an 18-game unbeaten run until they were beaten by Everton. So no disgrace losing there either. But when you put them all together and they're 3 in a row, and then you've got an international break and you're kind of sitting around twiddling your thumbs for 2 weeks, you want the win. So short answer, AJ, performance is definitely going to be good to see if it's there, but the result is the most important one for me this weekend. I don't mind if we win the game in a 96th minute Bruno Fernandes own goal, as long as we win it. Do you know what has surprised me, actually? So, although I wasn't working while I was away, I was always trying to keep an eye on the comments and, you know, try to drop a few love hearts in and a couple of comments where I could to help out Connor while he was away. And one thing that really surprised me over the last, I guess, month has been, and I don't know if this is a small minority who are quite vocal on social media, but the amount of people who don't seem to have faith in Arne Slot has really surprised me. I can understand people being unhappy with losing 3 games on the bounce. I can understand, to some extent, maybe people thought, well, this is Jurgen's team from last year we won the league with, although I disagree with that. But to see so many people, at least maybe it seems like so many, not really believing in the manager, that has surprised me a lot. Surely he's proved his credentials, because people will say he won the league with Klopp's team, but Klopp didn't win the league the year before with the same team. And to me, the big difference there was the ability for Arne, Ruben Peters and the team to keep the guys fitter for longer. Because that season, Klopp's last one, kind of just fell apart on us with injuries and stuff like that. Whereas Arne was able to, you know, I guess, measure the workload a little bit better and won the league. And I think that's overlooked by a lot of people, that he was able to do that with, yes, the same squad, but he was able to get one further than Klopp got in the last year, even with all the emotion of Jurgen leaving. So I feel it's a little bit disrespectful to be writing Slot off after 3 frustrating losses, and I'm never happy when we lose, as you know. But to question his future at the club, I just thought was nuts. Anthony said, out of curiosity, what time does the live show start? We'll be in Liverpool, but not going to the match, thinking about getting the tickets. So if you are in Liverpool and you're coming to the show, they're going to be showing the game at the venue if you want to get there early and watch it. I'm hoping to be on stage. Well, we've got, I'll tell you what, let me just try and flog a few tickets here first, mate, and then I'll give you an answer. So 3 days to go until I'm in Liverpool, Hot Water Comedy Club. Last time I'm doing a stage show because I'm a bag of nerves doing them. So if you want to come and see us, the show should start at about 7:45. Now, we've got a musical act who's going to be on first, Mark Kenny. You may recognise him from some of the Boss Nights gigs. Mark's kind enough to agree to do the music for us, so he's going to be on, and I'm going to be making my way from Anfield down to the venue as quickly as I can, and I hope to be on stage at about 8:15. but the show will start about 7:45. There are tickets left, from what I understand. At least there was when I checked yesterday. So if you'd like to come along, they're 15 quid. All the money we're raising from our side of the ticket sales, we're putting for Joe Lewis's wheelchair basketball chair, which, by the way, Joe has received. If you're in our WhatsApp, you would have seen that. Delighted for him. Honestly, so happy. He deserves it with all the good work he's put into his community and helping out youth as well. So yeah, delighted. Well done to everybody that helped Joe get that done. So yeah, long story anyway, bro. About 8:15 for me, 7:45 for the show to start. What do you think Slott's ideal 11 is, if you had to guess? Like the 11 he trusts the most. Ooh, that's a good question. The trust thing it makes it an interesting question, AJ. It's hard to know with the new players, isn't it? Like, he seems to certainly have trust in Kirkes, although he took him off as the yellow, but he's been playing him consistently. We haven't really seen the same level of consistent selection for Frimpong at right back, so that's an interesting little, I guess, side point to this, although we have Conor Bradley there as well. So I would probably say Alisson, I'd probably edge Frimpong, even though he's been playing Dominic Szoboszlai at right back. I still feel he brought in Frimpong, whichever way you look at it. He was his signing as a manager. So Canade, Virgil, not Costas, Kirkes. Midfield, you'd have to say is probably most trusted three in midfield would be Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, McAllister, because Wirtz has only just come in the door, so I don't think I'm speaking out of place to say those three would probably be the ones he trusts the most, because, you know, he's been around them longer. Up top, difficult to say with Ekitike, so I'd probably say Salah, Gakpo, Isak, but, you know, that's what I'm guessing that his trusted. But then again, they're all his players now, so you'd hope he trusts each and every one of them. Raz said, you going to the game? I am, mate, yes. Lucky enough to be going over to it. Yeah, really excited. The worst thing that could happen, Man United score and then park the bus. Yeah, that would be frustrating, Paul. It would, mate. That's a good show. So, we've been talking a lot this season about Mo and, you know, why his form hasn't been maybe what we all know he's capable of. And of course, there are various reasons for that. There's the loss of Trent Alexander-Arnold to Madrid and the relationship that they had down the right side. There's a change in personnel in the team and other forwards. But the Opta Analyst account put up some interesting numbers that, you know, could give us at least a glimpse at what Mo is like at this moment in time. And they said Mohamed Salah has 6 goal involvements in 10 games for Liverpool this season, which would be fine for most, but a player of his ability, that's considered underperforming. But the really interesting point for me in this post was they said across his last 24 games in all competitions, Salah has just 4 non-penalty goals in 24 games. I don't know how to perceive that, because penalties count, they are goals, but also, you know, a fairly good chance, something like an 82% chance to score from the penalty spot. So, yeah, what do we think of that? 4 goals from non-penalties in his last 24 games. It kind of feels low for Mo, doesn't it? When we've seen he's been absolutely incredible. Not this season as such, but, you know, during his time at Liverpool. I might be asking a dumb question, but is there going to be a watch-along on Sunday? Yes, Connor's doing the watch-along, mate, and he'll be starting it a bit later than normal, so he'll be starting it from 4 p.m, but Connor is stepping in to do the watch-along, and I really appreciate that. Raz said, just wondered, I've been trying to get to any game at Anfield. What's your tips to getting one? We had to buy hospitality tickets. No other way. Yeah, I don't have a mate that was able to help me out or anything like that. Brian got them through, you know, the club's website. So I don't even want to say out loud the numbers, because honestly it's ridiculously expensive. But yeah, that was the only way we could get to the game. And look, you expect to pay a premium to go to the United game. So I'm just happy to be able to go over, man. But I wish I could give you a better answer, dude. I don't know. I don't have a contact for tickets, believe it or not. Adeptian said, Oh, sorry, Adeptan. Excuse me. My apologies for getting that wrong. I believe Slot should play Hugo and Isak the same time. I bet they'll be striking forces because each of them will want to prove who's the real GOAT. Well, I agree. I want to see both of them on the pitch as well. Obviously, we had more time to bed Ugo Ekitike in. Isak's coming in from a very disjointed pre-season. Even the time with the Swedish national team hasn't been great. So, yeah, I'd like to see both of them start. For me, and again, I'm probably giving away my preview here, but I'd say Salah, Isak, Ekitike. Now, of course, we're going to say Chiesa, right? As Liverpool fans, you're going to say, hang on, Craig, what about Chiesa? We know he's not playing Chiesa. Let's just be honest about that. Chiesa ain't starting this game. Whether you think it's right or wrong or indifferent, he ain't. I would. You may. I think he deserves his chance. But he's not going to start. At least not in Mo's position. So I think you're going to see Salah on the right, Isak through the middle, and then it'll be down to whether it's Ekitike or Gakpo, I think, on the left. That's my guess. But I'd like to see what our friend a moment ago said. Isak centre, Ekitike left, and Salah right, or Chiesa right. Coleman said, Craig, bit of a random question, but have you ever thought of doing raids at the end of your streams? So this is where the boomer in me comes out. Now, of course, I know what a raid is, but like Lee does them. Lee Gunner is very kind and often sends people over. The truth is, I'm probably so distracted at the end of my stream, and I don't really pay attention to who is or isn't online. But it is certainly something I'd like to do to repay some of the love that the likes of Lee show me. So yeah, it's certainly something I'd be open to doing, my man. I always, if people are happy to go across and check out someone else's content, absolutely no problem with that. But yeah, the boomer in me kind of doesn't keep an eye on everything when I'm streaming to see who's on and whatnot. But it's certainly something that we probably should be doing a bit of. Kevin said he's definitely starting Gakpo. He always scores against United. Look, I'm a Cody Gakpo fan, but I've been paying attention to a lot of what the journalists and media as well have been saying, and I think it's fair to say that he hasn't exactly set the world on fire this year, stepping up to take the space of Diaz. And look, I'm a big Cody Gakpo fan. I think he brings a lot to the team, and he always chips in over the course of a season with his fair share of goals. But I'd also be a liar if I said I haven't been a bit disappointed with what I've seen so far this season from Cody. But he's not on his own. You could point to 5, 6, 7, 8 players, and we could have this same conversation. So for me, something has to give, because we either keep playing the same team as close to the 11 as we can and hope that we get into that rhythm and they start to build these relationships, or you're still kind of dicking about a bit trying to figure out what the best combination of forwards are. Yeah, it's a tough one, because like I said, do like Cody, happy he signed that new deal, but I expected a bit more from him this season so far, especially as one of the more established players in the team now. Elmer, how are you, dude? Said, you're looking fantastic, Craig. Nice to see you back. Hope you had a nice break. Weather was great. Lanzarote was awesome. But yeah, I had an accident on the first day. An accident's a bit of an exaggeration. I slipped in the airport and messed up my neck and shoulder. Slipping on a wet floor in the toilet, and kind of used my hand to break my fall and messed up my shoulder. So that had me in a clinic and in a hospital in Lanzarote over there, unfortunately, and flew back early to go and get some physio today to make sure I could go over and do the show on Sunday. So yeah, in one sense it was great, in another sense it was a bit of a nightmare, but could have been worse. If you're going to do a raid, do it at halftime of a watch-along. Why would I do that? Why would I take my audience in the middle of a watch-along and send them off somewhere else? That would be the height of stupidity, in my opinion, mate. No, wouldn't be doing that. AJ said, I believe United game is perfect for Isak and Wirtz to silence doubters. Right, let's look at our poll. We're nearly up to 1,000 votes, so if you haven't voted yet, the question that we're asking you to kick off today is, who should start alongside Virgil this weekend? Would you go for Joe Gomez? Would you go Ibu? Or would you go with somebody else? If you haven't voted, do take a second, because I really would like to know your thoughts. let's get stuck into some Antoine Semenyo talk, because that's another thing that I noticed while I was away. More and more information coming around about Semenyo's future. So we know there's a release clause now in Antoine Semenyo's new deal at Bournemouth. We don't know what that release clause is number-wise, but this piece here from Alex Crook of TalkSport said, Antoine Semenyo has a release clause in his Bournemouth contract. Liverpool are big admirers. The exact terms of the release clause are being kept under wraps as Bournemouth want to keep hold of their star man for as long as possible. So, this got me thinking, am I doing him dirty? Because when I see 70, 75 million being mentioned, and again, we don't know what the release clause is, but they were numbers that were being thrown around. I don't know. I don't know if I'm being a bit of a snob here and thinking, you know, if we're talking about him as a long-term Salah replacement, is he going to be that guy? Can he step up to do that? Or is it a bit of a match of the day fever because he's had a really good start to this season with Bournemouth? And we've seen up close firsthand how good he was when he played against us. So I'm unsure on this one. If you're looking at the contemporaries and who you may be looking at, you'd be, Barcola we've been linked with. Michael Elise we've been linked with, though I think Barcola operates more from the left. Elise, of course, but they would have higher price tags, most likely, than Antoine Semenyo. So what are we saying? Would you take Antoine Semenyo at Liverpool? Would you be happy if Liverpool went out and brought in Semenyo? If there's one man who's probably going to be able to find out what that release clause is, I'm sure it would be Richard Hughes, because I'm sure he has those great contacts still at Bournemouth. But I don't know on this one. I'm on the fence a little bit. But look, I was on the fence about Ryan Gravenberch, and I was very, very wrong about that, because Ryan's come in and been brilliant. So maybe I am being a bit of a snob here about Semenyo, because you can see why we'd be interested. Like power, pace, directness, which I think we've spoken about. We miss a lot of this season. I don't think we have enough direct running players. The ability to shoot, we've seen as well. He knows where the goal is. And he seems a really good dude as well. You know, I thought he dealt with the racist incident that he suffered at Anfield really, really well. I thought he was very magnanimous about it. I thought he was very understanding about it. And I thought he spoke very well about it. So he seems like a good dude. But I don't know. Just doesn't get me up off my seat as much as maybe the likes of a Michael Elise. But like I said, could be just me being a snob. Coleman said, I'd rather pay the big money for Elise. At least he's not predictable, able to shoot with both legs. Yeah, Sharkovic, that's a good point. That is a very good point. Like, I would say one of my biggest gripes with the players we have in the wide positions now is we don't have anybody to be the man, really. Other than young Rio coming through, Rio Engamoa. We don't really have anybody who's really running our players. You know, Diaz was probably the closest thing we had. Gakpo can go past the man, but cuts inside a lot. Salah, for all his great attributes, getting past the man these days doesn't really seem to be as prevalent from as it was in the past, although he's, you know, made up and improved in other areas. So yeah, a bit of directness I wouldn't say no to. Chada said, I'd imagine we'd go for Semenyo in the short term for the left side, and then maybe Elise as well for a Salah replacement on the right for the long term. I guess the problem with that would be, we've just given Cody Gakpo a new deal. Rio Engamoa is obviously a talent we fought hard to bring in, and somebody who the club have huge ambitions for. If you brought in another player then to compete on that left side, surely that is kind of blocking the pathway through. Unless maybe the plan then was eventually, when Rio blossoms and matures and plays more regularly, and Mo's contract expires in 2 years, then maybe you shift Semenyo across. I don't know. But yeah, if it was just from a left-wing thing, I don't know, I feel like he'd be blocking Rio's pathway. But this is the balancing act between the here and now and the future, and getting it right. Because I keep coming back to something. We went into the season told we had 6 forwards. We had Salah, Isak, Ekitike, Rio Engamoa, Cody Gakpo and Federico Chiesa. And we've only really seen 4 of those players. You know, Chiesa can't really buy a start. Rio Engamoa has only been used sparingly and not really that much. So I'm all for Rio Engamoa being at the club because he's going to be a superstar. But are we losing something now? Are we being a little bit risky by not having maybe another established player in there? You know, I said last season I don't want the manager to be looking at the bench and looking at players that he doesn't trust or bring on. And we had it last season with Harvey Elliott and Chiesa. Most of the season, Arne wasn't playing them. And we were told when we sold Diaz that we were going to see Rio and Gamoa more and that, he's this huge talent, which we all know he is. But we're not really seeing him getting too many chances. Came on, had that great moment against Newcastle and took the goal magnificently well. But after that, it's been a little bit hit and miss. And look, you don't need me to tell you about Chiesa. What's happening there, I don't get. I don't think I'm on my own for that either. So yeah, we're still playing with 4 forwards pretty much most of the time when we need 6. Sharkovic says, honestly, I would happily sell Gakpo unless he perfects his craft. If your weapon is to cut inside a lot, then you better be damn good at it. And 1 in 6 game, and not 1 in 6 game moments. Well, I guess we kind of got the answer on him because he signed a new deal. So Liverpool rewarded Cody Gakpo with a new deal. So you would think that the likelihood of us selling him would be slim to none. Now, I'm not saying you're wrong about the performance levels, because I did say at the very start of this video or stream, I want more from Cody Gakpo than we've seen so far this season. And as for the Federico Chiesa thing, look, it really is... It's difficult to make an argument against anything other than Slot doesn't fancy using him. I can't see what else it could be at this point. We were told all last year it was a fitness thing and he was playing catch-up and he was here the whole season. Then we had the summer situation. Then we had the niggle that kept him out of the Champions League game. I don't know. Something just doesn't smell right with the Chiesa situation. And call me a conspiracy theorist or whatever, but I'm not convinced that Arne really trusts him. I'm not. I do. I dare say you do. And certainly what I love about Federico Chiesa is his attitude. He doesn't sulk. He gets out there and gives it his best. And I get the feeling as a fan that he really wants to succeed at Liverpool. But he needs to have the chance to do it. And if the manager isn't giving him those opportunities, who's it good for? It's not good for him. It's not good for us. It's not good for anybody. So it's just another one that I just can't really get my head around. If I was to, guess, and of course I'm guessing, I don't think I'd be alone in thinking, is he a signing that Arne didn't sign off on? Was he a value signing? Was he a roll of the dice at a certain price that the club thought would be worth the risk? And again, big leap here, and I'm not stating it as a fact. It feels like if that was the case, this is Arne saying, you're not doing that to me again. I bring in who I want to bring in. You don't bring in a player and tell me what I'm doing. And is this his stand? Is this Arne saying, no, they're my guys or they're not getting played? Again, not saying that's a fact, but I can't really think of much else at this point to think of why he hasn't been given more opportunities. Kilo said, watch Diaz against my Canadian boys. Miss him. He's my prototypical winger. Gakpo just isn't that for me. Not saying he isn't good. He just isn't that dynamic. So the situation with Diaz was an interesting one. I think all of us Liverpool fans rated Luis Diaz. I think that's fair to say, or at least most of us. But he also seemed to always be angling for a move, and the deal didn't seem to be forthcoming from Liverpool's side to get him to stay. And I don't know why. Maybe Liverpool felt it was the right time to sell. Maybe he was asking for money Liverpool didn't want to give. I don't know. I'd be guessing again. But we sold him. Have we replaced those minutes or those opportunities? No, not yet, because Rio hasn't been given that chance and Chiesa hasn't been given the chance. So, again, still keep coming back to the same thing. We've got 6 forwards, but only 4 of them are really getting game time. Dave said, Craig, welcome back. Hope you recover quickly and can be our good luck charm against United. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you, bro. So, I'm going to get serious for a minute, and I'm going to discuss something that I promised myself I was going to talk about when I came home. And this is the last time I'm going to say it. But if there are kids watching, or anybody of a sensitive nature, I'm going to be discussing the subject now for a second that it's quite dark. So bear with me. So I'll give you a second or two in case there's any kids or parents with kids who don't want this coming up. But I wanted to say something to get it off my chest, and I'll leave it at that. So what happened before I went away, it had a way bigger impact on me than I ever thought anything would that was said about me online. You know, I've been called plenty of things over the years, and I can quite easily brush most of it off. But what was said about me before the international break, it cut deep. And I've spoken about my mental health battles on this channel, and I've been open about them for a very long time. And I've always said to you one thing. I never thought of self-harm, ever, until now. I'm going to be honest about this because I think it's important. For the first time in my life, I actually did think about self-harm. And I don't say that lightly. I was in a dark, dark place. Because my reputation, whether you like me or not, my reputation to me as a man is important. And what was said about me from absolute bullshit, from saying the word numpty, and how quickly it spread, quite frankly, frightened the shit out of me. Because I couldn't believe that spread around. I couldn't believe what people who had seen 8 years of a body of work of mine suddenly thought I was capable of. And it really, really got to me. Really got to me. When your son says to you, Daddy, why are people calling you a racist? And you explain why to him. And the simple answer is because I stumbled over the word numpty. Oh no, I stumbled over a word and then said numpty. When the word, and again, I'm always probably honest to a fault. I don't know for certain what I was trying to say. I think it was probably nonce. And I think I probably pulled back because of the whole referee and stuff. And we'll get onto that in a minute. But to make that leap to the other word about a white referee, and for people to turn on me about that, and to read some of the comments, nothing's ever cut me that deep, ever. Yeah, and I never want to feel that again. So I just wanted to be honest about it, and like I promised, I won't speak about it again. But yeah, that was the most difficult few days, and it's something so stupid. It shouldn't get to me, but it did, because like I said, I pride myself on trying to be as welcoming as I can be to people who want to be here for the right reason. And I've never shown anything other than full inclusivity on this channel for everybody, from any sexual orientation, religion, nationality, background. Don't care where you're from. Come in, be a part of our community, contribute to it. You're always welcome. Be an asshole, you know where the door is. So yeah, I just wanted to get that once because yeah, it was tough. It was tough. You know, and as I was explaining it to my son, and as they're saying, like, this happened, son, it sounded so stupid. Even saying it out loud sounded so farcical that stumbling over a word and saying numpty was twisted into something else. He almost looked at me in disbelief, like it was so stupid. Either Daddy's not telling the truth, or this story is fucking idiotic. But either way, man, it was... It scared me, you know, and it reminded me why I'm not on social media, because that went like that very quickly. And I was getting messages from people I haven't spoken to in a long time. And they were all supportive messages, by the way. But, you know, I was so freaked out by how quickly that spread. But anyway, thank you for your attention. And like I said, won't be bringing it up again. But I just wanted to be honest about it, because these things have real world consequences for people. Right. Let's move on to a couple of TV schedule fixture changes for the Reds. So TV schedule, December update. We've got 3rd of December. We're going to be taking on Sunderland in an 8:15 kickoff in the evening, which is a nice one. 6th of December, Leeds United is a 5:30 game now. 30th of December, another 8 o'clock game. And then 20th of December, Spurs 5:30 as well. So if you're thinking of travelling over, or you were coming up to Christmas and thinking of going to a game, just keep in mind those fixture time changes for your travel needs. Right, what else have we got? There's more stuff on Semenyo actually here. So Sam Dean of The Telegraph, I believe, good journalist Sam. Sam said there are important figures at Liverpool who believed Antoine Semenyo would have been the ideal signing for the club last summer. On top of that, Alex Crook said Richard Hughes is a big admirer of Antoine Semenyo. So there really seems to be something to this, right? This Semenyo stuff over the last couple of weeks really come to the fore. So I wonder, are we going to see something down the line with Semenyo? Yeah. He's 25 as well. I did check because I thought he was a little bit older. I thought he was maybe 26, 27. But if my memory's right, he turned 25 in January. So certainly the right age profile. If you look at when Liverpool do make the big money signings, it's usually a player who's about 25. Look at Isak. Verge, I think when he came in was maybe 26, 27. But 25 seems to be that sweet spot where a player will have had a career before a Liverpool career and a chance to prove themselves. And in Semenyo's case, of course, do it in the Premier League as well. So it'd certainly be one that we would think, if did come in, would hit the ground running because he knows what the league's all about. Daniel said, who's the referee for the Man United game? It is, unfortunately, Michael Oliver. Usually, like I said, 2 years ago, I'd be saying, yeah, Michael Oliver, he's going to be the ref. He's England's best, but I've kind of grown to dislike Michael Oliver over the last few years for some of his decision making, not just in Liverpool games, I should say. I just think he's fallen off with regards to his standards. He used to be an incredible referee. So Keane, it is true, and now I can say it because it's been proven and he's admitted it. Keane said, I don't know if it's true, but did you hear about David Coote having how do we say this when kids are watching, sensitive images of children on his computer? And yes, he admitted it. So I don't know what else to say on it. We knew the videos about Jurgen and we knew the drug use. He admitted that himself. But I always found it a bit naive that Sky brought him back on for that interview. You know the one I'm talking about. If in the UK or Ireland you watch Sky, you'll know the one I'm on about. They brought him back in. And I remember when the video surfaced about Coote saying what he said about Kloppo, I remember Gary Neville very quickly said, look, we've all been drunk, and said stuff. And I'm thinking, drunk, Gary? Fuck off. He's not drunk, bro. Anybody that's ever been around somebody who likes a Class A knows that wasn't a drunk person. And then we were told as well that, these guys aren't bad people and that referees deserve respect. And of course that is true. But what really wound me up by it, and what wound me up by Sky bringing him back on for that interview as well, was every career that exists has wrong-uns in it. So to tell us, the football public, when we start calling out referees, that we're all conspiracy theorists and nut jobs, when we just have a case of a real scumbag, and there's no other word to use here other than scumbag at this point, they're all very fucking quiet now, aren't they? I don't see Sky doing another interview where they're apologising for bringing this guy on to share his side of the story and try to make it about his struggle with his sexuality, which of course, look, is a very valid topic that many people struggle with. But, Coote in the back of... He knew what was on his fucking computer. He knew what was going to come down the line. And he still did it. So, where are all these people who push back on us fans, telling us that we're all conspiracy theorists and that, these referees are good people and all try their best? No, most of them are, of course. But there's a few scumbags in every job. And to talk down to the football public again about it, I thought was condescending and naive from people like Neville and Sky, who were the very first ones in Sky's instances to preach to us about morals and what we should be doing as the footballing public. Yeah. But look, he admitted it, so it's not even a case of did he or didn't he. He admitted this in court last week, so, have a read up on it yourself. But I only brought it up because the gentleman in the comments asked. Paro said, hey Craig, nice to have the biggest part of my day back, or the best part of my day back. Biggest part, I'm going to go best. Hope you had a good holiday, as it was very well deserved. Very kind of you, mate, thank you, and lovely to be back with you. Right, so this report from Bild, a little bit more about Nico Schlottbeck, said Nico Schlottbeck is still hesitating over a contract extension at Borussia Dortmund. He's playing his cards for two reasons. Firstly, to ensure he can compete for trophies in the future, and secondly, to strengthen his financial negotiating position, reports Bild. So what do we think? I've seen mixed reports on our interest in him. Some journalists think Liverpool are interested in Schlottbeck. Some think Liverpool's name is being used out there for a bargaining chip to either get a higher contract offer from Dortmund or to maybe even get a higher offer from Bayern Munich for him. What are your thoughts on it? Because, do we need a centre-back? Absolutely, we need a centre-back. With Leone's injury and the fact that we're probably still a centre-back short anyway, and Kanade's contract hasn't been resolved yet, so we have to plan for the future there. I think we got to go and get a centre-back. So if it's Schlottbeck, no problem. If it's Mark Gay, no problem. But we need to get somebody in. Petter, how are you, dude? Said, hope you have a good break, Craig. Never thought of the alleged work when I heard you stumbled before saying numpty. Hope you're well. What did you make of Ireland's games? Honestly, didn't watch them. I didn't watch any of the games. One, I couldn't get them unless I found a stream or something. But I just kind of wanted to keep my head out of football for the time I was away. So didn't get them, didn't watch them. So, but look, there's not much to shout about from the international stage as an Ireland fan at the minute. Gravenberch isn't a doubt for the game, right? I believe he isn't, AJ. No, I believe he's fine. I think it was a precaution. He was taken off, if I'm not mistaken, for the Netherlands. But what I've read suggests that he should be fine for it. So, Manchester City and the 130, I think. I know 115 keeps getting put around, but I think it's 130. So, Football Insider have said, Manchester City are expected to learn the verdict of their seismic 115 charges legal case against the Premier League over November's international break. The punishment could stretch from a fine to multiple regulations or anything in between. So it does seem as if, and this won't be the end of this, by the way, it does seem as if we're going to find out between now and the November international break ending what's going to happen with Manchester City. But whatever happens, whichever side comes out on top, I would almost say there will certainly be an appeal. There will certainly be an appeal from City side if they're found guilty, I would imagine, and that will probably kick it on another 18 months or so. We're now 6 years into this process. 6 years. That football fans from all different clubs, all different walks of life, have had this question mark over the success era of Manchester City with Pep Guardiola at the helm. Was it done within the rules? Was it done cleverly? Was it done with good management? Or was it done with nefarious actions as well as, obviously, genius management and great players brought in? And I just want it resolved because, and again, I'm going to be honest, probably more than I should be, nothing's ever going to convince me that they're not guilty. Nothing. Because I took the time to read up as much about this as I can over the last 6 years. And nothing is going to convince me that they're clean. Nothing. If they get let off, I'll think it will just be that they found a way to get let off. Nothing for me is going to clear them. Nothing. So I hope that if they are found guilty, that the maximum punishment is given to them for two reasons. I've spoken on this channel many times about Chelsea situation. Chelsea self-reported some issues that they found during the takeover from the Abramovich era. And I came on here and I said, look, yes, Chelsea broke rules, but they held their hands up, they self-reported it to the Premier League, and they wanted it resolved. For me, when you hold your hands up, when you make a mistake, that carries a lot of weight. That's important. But if you go full Lance Armstrong and say, I did nothing, up until the very end, and then you're found guilty, fuck you at that point. Because you have drag this shit and cost Premier League clubs a lot of money in having to fight this case because the Premier League is obviously funded by the clubs, the TV revenues and everything in it. So this has caused untold headaches for the Premier League. And the arrogance, in my opinion, at which Manchester City side of it have always laughed and batted away these allegations. This, in my life, is going to be, if found, the biggest corruption in English football that I can remember ever. That's the scope of this. So it's a big verdict, and we've been waiting long enough for it. So let's wait and see what happens when it comes out next month. Kaz, how are you, mate? Said, hey Craig, glad you're back. Connor was fab. I hope you and the family enjoyed your time away. Missed your face. I hope all is well for you and the Liverpool community. Thank you, Kaz. Family are all good, thank you. And yeah, glad to be back. Always miss you guys when I'm away. I feel really guilty that I'm back and then I'm going to be away again for the weekend, so I'm not going to be here for the United game. But yeah, I'm going to enjoy the game if I can get over to it. Team for Sunday. So, Chris, I've recorded the preview, mate, and it's going to come out, I think, at about 11:15. So it's coming out after the stream anyway. So I don't want to give away my my predicted 11 erratum because I want you to watch the video, but I'm backing us to win, Chris. That's what I'll say, mate. I'm backing us to win, but I don't think it's going to be as straightforward as maybe it should be in our minds, because we are coming in, whatever we think about United there, Foreman, Ruben, Amarim, we are coming in off the back of 3 losses. We can dress that up whatever way we want, but them's is the facts, and we got to put that right. Nighthawk Warrior said, I know that dark place. I've attempted 3 times. It's horrible, but we're still here. And never forget you're not alone. God bless you and your family. Thank you, bro. Look, as I've said before, my mum died of suicide. My dad drank himself to death. And, you know, I for all the ups and downs I've had in my life, mate, I'd never thought about that. Never. Until this, which feels so trivial compared to what I've actually been through. But like I said, I don't have much in this world, but I do have my reputation. And you might think I'm an asshole. You might not like my football opinions. Absolutely fine. But my character is important. So when that was questioned for something that was absolutely stupid, you know, it's not like I said the word and held my hands up and apologized. I said nothing. I did absolutely fuck all wrong, and had so many people come out of the woodwork that I don't even know to write me off and, you know, call me this, that, and the other. It's, yeah, it opened my eyes. Maybe I've been too naive. Carl, and by the way, sorry, to get back to you, I'm glad you're in a better place, my man. I'm proud of you for being here, and thank you for opening up. I know it's not easy. Bless you, mate. Thank you. Carl said 6-0 Liverpool. Great to see you back, Craig. Thank you, Carl. Oh God, mate! If it's 6-0, you might see a semi-naked little fat Irish man running onto the pitch, giving it a big woo. 6-0, and I'd be showing up to the live show very happy indeed, my man. 6-0 would be incredible. Yeah, I don't know what to expect though. I really don't. I have no idea what to expect on Sunday. Right, so we said, who should start beside VVD? 61% of those that voted said this weekend that they would go for Joe Gomez to go alongside Virgil. 30% went for Ibu, and then somebody else, 9%. And again, appreciate everyone that took the time to vote, really do. Elliot said, Craig, why is our recruitment team allergic to buying centre-backs? Well, to be fair to them, Elliot, we did try this summer, and we did sign one. We signed Giovanni Leone. And we tried to get in Mark A. I guess the question mark some people would have is, did we leave it too late? And were we trying to be overly clever in the deal for Mark A? I don't know the answer to that, but I know we didn't pull out of the deal. So the owners were putting the money up, the deal was agreed, and then Crystal Palace changed their mind. So it ended up biting us in the ass, there's no denying that. But I don't know how to feel about it. Because the argument of, did we leave it too long? I think there's some merit to that. You know, you could say we could have moved earlier in the summer, or, you know, if we thought this deal with Crystal Palace was going to be too difficult, maybe we could have gone another direction. So I think that that's fair for people to have that criticism. But at the same time, you know, if Steve Parish hadn't changed his mind, Mark A would be a Liverpool player right now, and I dare say we would have said that this has been a near perfect transfer window. So it's a tough one, but it's disappointing, mate. You're right. We need to get one in. It's so unfortunate what happened with Giovanni Leone as well. So late in that game, and he looked really good in that first starting appearance for us. And now the poor lad's out for the rest of the season. So you wish him a speedy recovery. And yeah, it's a worry. It's a worry because we're an injury away from a shit show right now. You know, if heaven forbid, if VVD picked up an injury, we are in trouble. Big trouble. Grim Reaper, how are we, dude? Nice to see you in. said, "Hey Craig, since we won the league last season and you ate broccoli, when are you punishing yourself with this year when we do it again?" I don't know, man. I'm sure if it's looking likely, we can come up with a forfeit or something. You know me, I'm not against it. I don't know, dude. I'm never eating broccoli again. I can promise you that much. But I don't know if it's looking likely, we'll figure something out as the season goes on, because that pleasure pain thing. I'm fine. If Liverpool win a trophy, I'm happy to do something silly. Because look, it's worth celebrating, isn't it? But how are we feeling about it? So let me ask you this. So. Okay. Okay. Right, so the question that I'd like to ask you is, are we still favourites to win the league in your mind? Not with the bookies or with anybody else. Do you think right now we're still favourites to win the Premier League this season? I don't. I think we can do it. I'm not saying we're not going to win the league. I'm not saying it's not possible. But I don't think we're favourite. Dave said Craig custard this time. I love custard, Dave. It's Sabrina that hates custard. I love custard, mate. If that's a forfeit, sign me up. I'll eat custard all day. So yeah, anyway. Are we still favourites to win the league? Interested to know your thoughts on this one. Because I don't know who is or isn't, but I don't feel it's us at the minute. I feel like it would be delusional after losing 3 in a row, and it's not like we were 3 in a row unlucky and I played really well. We haven't been able to put together a consistent run of performances. We've got wins, which is great, but I don't feel like we're favourites now to win the league. Maybe I'm saying this because I want some deflection in my mind as well. I want to take some of that pressure off and let those new signings bed in. If you asked me in the first weekend of the season, I would have said 100% we were the favourites with the window we've had. But I also think when you're talking about being favourites, you have to deserve to be favourites. And I don't know with the start of the season that we've had if we are deserving of the title of favourites. Corbin said, "How was the hotel? Enjoy your stay." We never really stay in hotels, mate. If I go away with the wife, we might stay in a hotel. But when we go away with our son, we always rent a villa because, little dude's a ball of energy and needs a bit of space to run around and wander around in. So we rented a villa and it was lovely. Yeah, lovely. This is going to sound way bougier than it was because it was a reasonably priced villa. But it had a sauna, a full gym, which of course I wasn't using, but the wife did. It had a swimming pool, it had a ping pong table, and it was class, gorgeous. So yeah, lovely, thank you, mate, lovely. But that sounds way bougier than it was supposed to. But I had a private gym. It wasn't any more expensive than the other villas that we'd normally stay in. This one just happened to have these lovely little things in it, but it was incredible. Jacobs said Liverpool has too many holes to fill, especially with defence. Yeah, that's more than fair, mate. We've got question marks over the defence. We've got question marks over how quickly the team can gel. Of the new signings that we've brought in, for me, the only one I would say has been living up to it so far is probably Hugo Ekitike. The fullbacks, again, they've been in and out, so difficult to get rhythm there. Isak, it would be unfair to give any judgment on him because he's only just been in and hasn't really had much of a chance. And Wirtz is the interesting one because I'll die on the hill that he will succeed. Not 1% of me doubts he will succeed. How long it will take, who knows? But in amongst all the banter from opposition clubs opposition clubs fans and all, I've never wavered once on Florian Wirtz. The dude is a baller. And he'll get there. And when he does get there, there's going to be a lot of opposition humble pie eaten for the people that were writing him off. But we always know that Liverpool players, they get judged with a different energy. Like I said, look at the Isak situation. He was lambasted far and wide. But Gyökeres did the same thing to get out of Sporting. Nobody said much. Nobody's really saying anything about the situation with Newcastle, bringing in the guy from Brentford, Johan Visa. It all went on Isak's shoulders. Same with Wirtz. Other players have come into the Premier League this summer, and yes, Wirtz came in for a lot of money, but to be talking after 10 games to write the guy off, which some people are happy to do, it's just madness. You know, a season minimum a new player needs before you start judging them, whether they've played in the league or not. And if anybody thinks there's any doubts about whether he's going to be good enough or not, I don't know if they know football, because he is a really good player. And yes, it's been a tough start for him, but he'll be made stronger because of that. And when it clicks for him, we have an absolute superstar. To be fair, Visa hasn't played yet. No, Keane, what I meant about... Sorry, mate, I probably should have been clear on that. What I meant, Keane, was the attitude to the way he got his move to Newcastle. So the only one that's really been lambasted in the media is Isak, because he's the highest profile one. But Gyökeres, same thing, to get out of Sporting. Visa, same thing. But all the energy from the whole window was for Isak, and everybody seemed very happy to stick the boot in there in the media circles and point out that situation, whereas there was a different energy for other players. I think Victor Gyökeres now, again, if I'm wrong on this, I apologise, but I'm sure I read a stat that said he's now 8 games in all comps, international and club, without a goal. If that's true, and again, I'm sure I read it, that's not great, is it? For your number 9 or your number 14 or whatever he wears at Arsenal, your star player. So where's the energy for him and the way he got his move? Joseph said, Mr. Craig, 7-0 incoming, get back on track. Oh, mate, we can dream. We can dream of a 7-0. It'd be incredible. Oh, on United, actually, I don't know if this was down to injury or if it's just because they were back or not, but the Standard newspaper said Manchester United have had several players absent from training today ahead of their visit to Anfield on Sunday, including Bruno Fernandes, Amad Diallo and Casemiro. Now, I'm not aware of any of those carrying injury doubt, so maybe it was just recovery day or something, I don't know, but these guys were absent from training, so let's wait and see if they're available for Ruben Amorim on Sunday. Keane said the Gyökeres that is true. Then, yeah, that's, where's him being written off? It just feels like Liverpool players get a different energy because there's more of an appetite for wanting us to fail. Maybe I'm looking at this purely through Liverpool eyes, and the criticism stands out more to me because I'm a Liverpool fan, but definitely feels like there's not a parity of opinion on how people are treated when they come into their new clubs. And Isak hasn't had a pre-season, which Gyökeres did have to some extent at Arsenal, and he wasn't fit when he came in. So, yeah, where's the criticisms of Gyökeres? I'm not really seeing it. Where's the criticisms of Visa for the way he got his move? Not really seeing it. Lescott is... What's this? I don't know what this... Something about... So who was Lescott? Oh, I think what you're talking about with Lescott, Connor said this to me earlier on. Did he say something like if Liverpool could get a refund on Florian Wirtz, they would? Something like that. If I'm wrong, again, apologies. But I think Connor said something to me about that one, and it's just ridiculous if that's the case. Like, of course they wouldn't. And for him, it's probably, it's probably even more laughable coming from Lescott, because he is a pro. He's played at the top level. He knows and has seen players come in and out of clubs that take time to settle. And for him to have come out with that after 6 games is it's just stupid, quite frankly. He should know better than that. Even putting aside his Everton and Manchester City alliances or allegiances is just stupid. Nevlin, 25 months with us as well. Nevlin as a member, bro. Thank you. So Lescott comments, Craig, I nearly choked. Seems Jolien the Blue Nose has been hit in the head a few times too many. It's just... For a man that wants to have a punditry career after his playing career, and he was a very good player, to say that, it's just, if I said it, I'd be laughed at, and I'm an idiot. So for him to say it when he knows damn well that it's horseshit, I just find it unfortunate. Carl, said, would you go strong against Palace in the Cup? Definitely. There's no room now, mate, for any more mistakes. We've got to just step back to winning ways, and that includes the games coming up, of course, against Real Madrid the start of November, and the game coming up against Crystal Palace in the League Cup. You've got to. No more slip-ups. No more losses. We need to get back into a rhythm now, because Arsenal are a point ahead of us. Manchester City are breathing right down our necks now as well. So, we can't really afford any more slip-ups. Simple as that at the minute. We need to take everything seriously. So, let's go. His exact words were, if Liverpool could get their money back at the end of the season, they would do it. Yeah. I'm trying to be respectful to Joleon Lescott here in what I'm thinking, but I just don't know why you come out and say that and not think he's going to be laughed at for it. Because, one, he's no place to say it, no right to say it, no information to back up what he's saying. He's just trying to be edgy, and it just sounds idiotic. Mark said, even more against Palace because we need revenge. Look, they beat us, and I guess they beat us in the penalties in the Community Shield as well. But more than that, it's a trophy, and we want Liverpool to be challenging for every trophy, Mark, don't we? So you got to win the game. What team the manager puts out, look, that's up to him. I always find it interesting when you do play another Premier League team in the League Cup. It's almost like a game of brinksmanship between the two managers. How strong do they go? Do they put out their full 11, or what do they do? So it's going to be interesting to see. Philly Reds said, Connor did a great job in your stead, and glad you're back. Thank you, mate. And again, yes, much appreciated for Connor stepping in and doing the videos that he did, and keeping everything ticking over. Really, really appreciate it. And good to see him gaining in confidence with each video as well. Christina said, Arsenal do have a good team, the most consistent in Europe, I think, are coming second. I like what you did there, Christina. It's an interesting one. I don't know. Look, let's see what the votes are saying. So I asked, are we still favourites to win the league? Yes or no? Let me know what your thinking is. If you haven't voted yet, please do take a second to do it. Because for me, at the start of the season, I would have said wholeheartedly, yes, we're the favourites to win the league. But right now, I don't feel I could warrant saying yes, we're the favourites, because it would just be hope more than factual. We haven't seen the performances to justify us saying, yes, we're favourites to win the league. So for me, I don't know who is the favourites now, whether you'd say Arsenal, whether you think Man City will come back in, but I don't think it's us at the minute. I think it would be a stretch for me to sit here and try to have credibility and say, oh yeah, we're the favourites. I think I said before we went away on holiday, I think the Champions League could be the best chance for us this year, because in the Champions League, it's about hitting form at the right time. Once you can navigate your way through the league phase of it and get into the knockout stages, it's about peaking at the right time. And Paris Saint-Germain are a good example of that. They just scraped through last year into the knockout stages, and then deservedly went from that point and were by far and away the best team in the knockout stages and won the Champions League. There's every chance that could happen for us this year if it clicks for us as the season goes on. What's the content schedule over the next few days? Tomorrow, preview coming out after this stream tonight. News video tomorrow at about 4:30. Stream tomorrow night. Don't think to be a late video tomorrow because I'm travelling over to Liverpool Saturday morning. And then I'm not sure what Connor has in the books for Saturday, if he's doing anything or not. I haven't had a chance to ask yet. But Sunday, Connor's doing the watch along and he'll be starting from 4 o'clock. I think he's going to do the watch along and then record the player ratings video. I don't think he's doing a match reaction. So that's the plan. Then I'm back on Monday and it'll be back to normal. Mark said, welcome back, mate. Hope you're feeling better for the time away. Yes and no. Yes and no, mate. Great to get the break. Weather was lovely. Always good to get a bit of sunshine. But a bit of an unfortunate incident at the airport where I hurt my shoulder and back, and that had me in a clinic and in hospital over there, which wasn't great, but I had a bit of physiotherapy today. We flew in a day early to try and get some physio to make sure I could do the show on Sunday. And first time I've ever had physio on my neck and back, so not sure how I'm going to feel tomorrow, but fingers crossed I feel a bit better. Marco said, I let you sign 3 BVD players. Who do you pick? I'm glad to see you back. I don't know if I'd even take 3, to be honest, dude. You're probably thinking Schlottbeck. You could make an argument for Adeyemi. After that, I don't know, mate. I'd be a liar to say I've watched a lot of Dortmund this season in particular. I haven't. So, again, if I did spend time watching them and probably knew their squad a bit better. I know Joe Bellingham has gone there, but I've not really kept tabs on how he's getting on there either. So, yeah, off the top of my head, Schlottbeck, potentially Adeyemi, but after that, I'm not really sure. You never get a break, mate. I was just unlucky this time, mate. It was just a freak accident. I slipped in the bathroom walking out and, put my hand forward to break my fall, bang my knuckle off the door frame, and I had a bruise in my hand, and I thought, oh, a bit of a bruise, that'll be grand. Then the next day I got up and my shoulder was killing me, my neck was killing me, and yeah, just is what it is, but it could have been a lot worse. There are people who go on holidays and end up in real worse situations. So, it is what it is. Just one of those, you just draw a line under it and move on. Craig, you should ask somebody, to show you a post that TK made in his Insta page, held up a shirt with I love Fede, with Fede's face underneath it. I didn't know if that was real or not. I've seen the post you're on about. It was in our Discord group. Somebody posted it. I didn't know if it was a real post, a made-up post, a fan post, or what it was, but I have seen it, and it definitely did make me smile. Because, look, we all want Fede to get more opportunities because, we want him to do well. Marco said, Kobel would be a great replacement for Alisson, and Nemetja would be a good shout as backup for Gravenberch. Well, to be fair, we've just brought in Georgie, so we have, hopefully, the long-term Alisson successor there. Although, we're going to get a good look at Georgie now over the next while with Alisson out injured. So, fingers crossed he can show what he's made of because he's a very good goalkeeper. Nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday moment, Craig. Look, as I said, it is what it is. Could have been a lot worse. Right, what else have we got in the chat? Arteta will never ever win the league. They'll bottle it like always, said Jacob. Well, he's had long enough to do it, so he's probably not going to get a better chance than this year with Liverpool giving them a chance to get their noses ahead now. So, I'd say pressure on. Pressure's on us, of course. We spend a lot of money as well. There's no denying that, but Arteta's in there now. This is his 5th, 6th year at Arsenal, and he won an FA Cup in the half of his first year he was in with Emery's team, and since that it's been zip nada. And if you want to be top manager of the top club, I don't see how you think you've done well enough if you haven't delivered trophies, and he has not delivered one of the 2 big ones. And if he doesn't do it this year, and I said this a long time ago, and I'm not trying to be sensationalist, but he should be sacked. He should be sacked. If Arsenal think of themselves as a big, big club and they go this long with that much money and that manager and don't win a big trophy, sack him. Sack him or stop telling us you're a big club, one or the other. Carl said, I think we're favourites because we're having a blip early in the season. Watch this space. Dude, I very much hope you're right. I'm just trying to be honest and say I feel it would be a bit silly of me after what we've seen so far this season to say, yes, we're definitely the favourites. We're going to be there or thereabouts, but we still have some questions that we need to answer. Right, ladies and gents, I'm going to go and I will see you guys tomorrow. As I mentioned, appreciate you guys coming in and joining me tonight. First one back is always good to get out of the way. Always feel a bit nervous, as I mentioned, coming back and doing a stream. The preview will be out in the next 15 minutes for the Manchester United game. So if you have a chance, please do give it a watch and let me know your thoughts. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Same time, same place.